Do you want to buy a new home, but you feel a little bit stuck? There are probably one of three buckets that you're falling into. So let me know which one of these feels right. Number one is that your equity has held flat or even gone down a little bit since you last purchased it. Number two is that you might have some equity, but your market's overall been flat. And then number three might be the dream scenario where your equity took off and you're now sitting on a boatload of cash tied in your home. All of those have their different challenges because the reality is nobody has that cash in their hand until they sell. So what do you do if you are looking to buy something else, move to a different neighborhood, different school district, etc., but you need to figure out a creative way to get there? Well, the good news is we have options for all three of those. They're gonna look a little bit different because the challenges are a little bit different, but here you go. Number one, if you're in that no equity or low equity scenario, the silver lining to that is likely the market around you in general has probably stayed relatively flat as well. So if you're in a state or in a city that hasn't really seen a bunch of gains, especially since COVID, or seen a decline since COVID, that might be a kind of nice thing because the homes that you have available are right there. My recommendation would probably be to look at renting that property rather than selling. Selling wouldn't necessarily generate any cash, if any. It might actually cost you money to sell. But depending on when you bought, if you have a nice low interest rate, your payments might not be that bad. And one really nice thing that you can do is you can actually use rental income from the home you're leaving behind to cover that mortgage payment. So when it comes to qualifying for a new property, we just pretend it doesn't exist, essentially, because it's getting income that's covering the mortgage payment. The downside, of course, is that you're gonna probably be short on cash for the down payment. The good news there is that there's actually a lot of down payment assistance programs that we offer that don't require you to be a first-time home buyer. So that means even if you own a property, even if you have that one rented out, you could still use the down payment assistance product to borrow for the down payment and get to that new home. So just something to consider if you're in a situation where you have to go. Number two is, let's say the market around you in your home has stayed relatively flat. Maybe you got a little bit of a bump up in equity. So that's kind of where you're in the middle, where you can go either route, either rent or sell. If you have enough to get out of that property and that's your plan anyway, I would say that might make sense. Just a reminder that in most cases, unless your home's already under contract, we have to consider that debt ratio or that payment towards your debt ratio when we're qualifying you for the new home. What that means in simple English is that the underwriter and the person approving your loan is gonna say, wow, you have two mortgages you have to pay. We can't approve your loan. We have a solution for that too, which is basically a short-term contract that would get your home under contract so that it's technically going to sell within that window of 6 months. That lets us ignore it from your loan application, and it gives you 6 months to sell it to a higher bidder on the open market. So that solves the problem of your cash flow. But then we'd have to probably look at your down payment. Reminder, you only need like a minimum of 3% down depending on your income situation, or 5% down. So you don't need a boatload of cash, but you do need some savings. Probably, we could look at tapping into a 401k or into an investment account or something like that to generate the cash. Gift from mom and dad is always a great way to go as well. And the last but not least is a high equity situation. First of all, congrats, we're all super happy for you. But for real, if you're in that high equity situation, that probably also means all the home values around you have skyrocketed. So while you want to make a move, you might be kind of stuck because you're like, hey, all my value is tied up in this home. How do I extract that and use it to purchase a new place? Well, you guessed it, we have a solution for that too, where essentially you can use a second loan. We have a few different ways to structure that, but in essence, you're borrowing against some of that equity and using that to fund your down payment on the new home. That strategy can also be paired with our buy before you sell solution, which lets us ignore all the debt tied to that old property. So how it looks in practice is that your old home has your existing mortgage. We get another mortgage to borrow how much you need for the down payment. We take that amount, roll it over to the new house, and on paper, we're able to exclude those debts from your loan approval. So you're not qualifying for 2 or 3 mortgages at once, you're just qualifying for the one. So we wanna make it really simple to make that move. We know there's a lot of different challenges facing people today, but frankly, right now is a really good time because we're seeing inventories build up in general. And as rates have pulled back a little bit from their recent lows, they're still at like historical lows over the last 3 years. So we're in the low sixes. We're not, back up over 7% like we were just a couple years ago. They're still at a really great level, but you're seeing a lot of people put their plans on pause, which means as a buyer, you've got a lot more control and a lot more negotiating power than you did previously. So if any of these scenarios feel familiar, please reach out, talk to our team. We would love to walk you through how they might work. And of course, as always, have a great day.